Hello and welcome back to Podcast with a K. I'm your host Carla with a K, and on this fine Sunday evening, you're listening to 90.1 WBCS FM, where I am a DJ, also radio club president if you listened to my appearance on one of our hosts' shows last week, and I'm also the on-air studio manager. So today we have a special episode, I guess you can consider it. It's spring break next week, which of course, yay, because no school, meaning catch up on shows and movies and etc. But it was not a calendar year ago today, but about a year, let's say situationally, ? That I started this show. I started this show the week before spring break of last year. Granted, spring break was later on in the semester last year, but this time around, here we are today in March. Yeah, unfortunately, that episode is the one that didn't record. That episode lives in our memories and in our hearts forever. But from then on, I've been making sure I record all these episodes and, you know, edit them into a listener-friendly experience, aka just taking out like the song track so I can put it on YouTube without getting copy striked. And that's on that's a bit.ly link, so it's bit.ly/PODKost, and it'll take you to the playlist if you want to hear episodes. Currently the first season, aka first semester, is up on YouTube, but the rest are coming soon as I have the time to get around to them. But yeah, it's been almost a year of this, and it's been brought to my attention numerous times by numerous people that I never properly/formally introduced myself. Myself and I being who you listen to every week, introducing and interviewing my friends and guests. But, you know, you guys get to hear stuff about me and who I am through those discussions, which is super cool because that's also why I started the show, because I wanted to get to know people through the things that they care about and through songs that they like, of course, because music is very significant. But I mean, a quick summary of who I am, you know. Hey y'all, I'm Carla. I'm from North Carolina. I'm a student here at Eastern Connecticut State University, majoring in new media, hopefully with various concentrations that will actually be decided tomorrow, assuming my advisor is in. I'm also minoring in film, and this is my golden year, aka I will be 23 on the 23rd of June, which most importantly makes me a Cancer in terms of zodiac signs and astrology. I don't know how much the stars can actually tell us about our lives, even though a lot of people believe that they do tell us a lot, but you know, it's just a fun little thing to focus on. But at the end of the day, we're all just trying to quantify our existence in some way on this pale blue dot of a floating space rock. But yeah, as always, on this variety show of a podcast that I've created here with the help of my friends and with the, you know, host by WCS 90.1 FM, we have a lot of things to discuss and a lot of tangents to go on. Even if it's just me, because, you know, I be thinking, I be knowing, I be having discussions with myself, because I think this has come up on the show before numerous times. I do like to see what other people think and try to switch perspectives every now and then just to get a more in-depth, I guess, knowledge of a certain topic or situation. So currently, this has been on my mind. A couple days ago, Riz Ahmed, actor, writer, I think the biggest thing I knew him from was the song Immigrants, We Get the Job Done on the Hamilton mixtape. And Hamilton, of course, I know because of its huge impact, I guess, on society right now, but also because my sister, Charlotte, who you guys have heard before and who will be on the show next week, is obsessed with it. My sister is obsessed with Hamilton, and so when that dropped, she made sure we all heard that song 80 million times because she would play it on her phone, on her speakers, in the shower, just to go around the house singing it. But yeah, he dropped a short called The Long Goodbye, and then also an album, and in that short and album is a track called Where You From. So that short and that track are absolutely grounding, powerful, moving, etc. So let me stop rambling for a second and let y'all hear it, and then we'll go over my thoughts on it. So yeah, here is Where You From by Riz Ahmed. So yeah, like I said, that was intense. The short is so shocking, dude. Anything you thought you knew, you're not gonna expect it to happen until it's actually happening. I don't want to say anything about it because it did just come out. So in case any of y'all want to watch that, it's called, again, The Long Goodbye by Riz Ahmed, and it resonated. The immigrant slash family of immigrants slash just general human existence. That experience has got a lot of parallels across cultures, across countries, across everything. So, like I said, this track is called Where You From? And it says a lot that it's very specific to Riz Ahmed and his own personal background slash history. But there were also a lot of, dude, I'm telling you, I was tearing up during the film itself, or the short itself. But then just listening to the lyrics and then going back through the track, I've heard this before, I've lived it. When people ask you where you from, what do you say, right? I've said earlier, I'm from North Carolina, and it's come up on the show before that my family is Mexican. You could consider me white passing. You'll see me and you won't know just exactly where to place me. You'll listen to me and you'll hear that I go around saying y'all. Some of the words I say with a twang. So you'll place me somewhere in the South, but what people don't know is it's a little further south than South. But then people's reactions change, once they find out who you are, where you're from. People will ask you, what are you? And what's the answer to that, right? Bro, I'm a person, I'm human, I'm a girl, I'm out here living life. But they that's not what they want to know. They want to know how to identify you. And we're all guilty of it. We all want to, maybe not explain, but we all want to be able to identify others the same way we're identified ourselves. Look for things in common, look for, ways to interact with people. But some people don't do it from a place of gaining knowledge. Some people do it from a place of prejudice and from a place of, I don't know, you'll be stereotyped for who you are, and people will ask you where you're from. And like he said, in his song, he says he could tell them Wembley, but that's not the answer they want. But if you tell them any more than that, if you give them anything else, any information, you don't know if it's going to be used against you. And that's happened. And I say this a lot, we've said this previously because there's a lot of episodes, a lot of shows, a lot of guests, a lot of experiences. And I've had certain people, when they find out I speak Spanish, that's usually how people find out I'm Mexican, unless I'm wearing a Mexico shirt or something. But people will find out that I'm Mexican. And in high school in particular, I just remember there was this kid who I was friends with, and we stayed friends afterwards. But when he found out that I spoke Spanish, and I spoke Spanish because I was Mexican, he was just like, wait, really? Why didn't you tell us? And I'm like, did I have to hold a press conference where I let y'all in on that? It's not like it was a secret, but I also didn't think it was imperative for your knowledge. But there's other people who will hear where you're from, and to them it's just like, oh, cool, can you do this? Can you tell me about that? Again, from a place of knowledge. But yeah, the short just, I would highly recommend that y'all watch it. It's so beautifully crafted. Visually, it's stunning. The storyline is shocking. It hurts to watch, I will say. But the lyrics, right? The lyrics are what gets to you at the end. And it does talk about how people will pick and choose what they want from your culture and from your people, from the groups that you identify with. But times have changed, honestly. Right now, everyone is so quote unquote woke, right? But there's still people, there's a line where he says, now everyone wants their country back, right? So people will pick and choose what aspects of you they want, or they'll tell you, oh, you're not like them, you're one of the good ones, or those are the bad ones. What does that even mean, right? There's good and bad in every group, in every category, in every single way that you can identify a person. And so for it to come down to something as simple as where geographically you came into this world or where your family came into this world, like, how is that a fair judgment of someone's character, right? It doesn't make any sense. And there's also a line that says, maybe I'm from everywhere or nowhere. And that, for me, that was like such a powerful quote, right? Like, it doesn't matter where you're from. There's so many ties to everything, and through just human history, we're all connected to different places in different ways. And for people that, you know, want to say that they're like 100% this or 100% that, or their family's only been here or there, historically that's not accurate. If you want to trace all of this back, we all originated from the same point, geographically and, you know, socially. I also really like the stanza, I guess you can call it. It's kind of a song, kind of like spoken word, but he says, stop trying to make a box for us, I'll make my own and break your whole poxy concept of us. And that right there, I was like, hell yeah, there you go. Because like, people will stereotype, people will try to identify you, people will try to put you in a box. And if it's negative, right, if it's stereotypes, if it's like the worst possible thing they could think of you, the best thing you can do, and the only thing you can do by existing, is just proving that, you know, you and others like you, others who they'll rope in with you, are still just human beings trying to go through life. Because like I said before, and obviously as is common sense, there's good and bad in every single like way that you could want to quantify a person. But yeah, I don't know, I really like this short, and I've been thinking a lot about it. I've watched it a million times because, like I said, it's super powerful, it's super moving, and I wish more people would watch this with an open mind. Because, you know, there are some people who want to say that, you know, it's just a short film, it's just a song, like, you don't have to politicize everything, you don't have to make everything about justice or about social issues. But at the same time, like, art is a really good way to get out a message, because not everyone's going to sit there and be lectured and want to take in like years worth of information just to just to have to learn it because they're faced with it. But when it's presented in such a way that you're also like, you're sitting there, you're entertained, you're watching something for the craft, but you can learn from that experience, I think that's the best way to do it. Because it also, I mean, I don't know if y'all want to if y'all took Psych 101 or if y'all want to get into that, but like, it is a retrieval cue, right? Like, you're going to associate that piece of knowledge to that song, to that movie, to that book, to that article, to that passing conversation. And every time you think of one thing, you'll think about the other, right? And you'll be able to find a way to, I guess, convey that information yourself to somebody else who might need to learn that, who might need a different way of gaining that knowledge. Because not everyone's going to want to sit there and listen to you yell at them that they're wrong about an issue, right? But I don't know. There's endless movies, there's endless songs, there's endless everything that could teach you. And honestly, I'm a fan of this, of people spreading messages through songs. And like, granted, some of them can be cheesy, some of them can be corny. Like, I remember on the drive home for spring break last year, all of us, there was 5 of us in the car, all of us had a chance at aux. And so someone, probably my sister or me actually, because I was trying to DJ to everyone's likings. At some point, that song that I mentioned before from the Hamilton mixtape, Immigrants, We Get the Job Done, came on. And that song is very, very deliberately political and like motivated by social issues. And one of us in the car was like, you know, like, that's so cheesy, just like at the ending with Immigrants, We Get the Job Done. But he liked the song as well, because then we actually went back through it and stopped it and like went through each lyric. And even in that song, like from the start, you know it's gonna be coming after certain ideals, because it starts with a few lines and then it says, it's astonishing that in a country founded by immigrants, immigrant has somehow become a bad word, right? And that's one of like the truest things I've ever heard because, you know, like I said, we're all from somewhere else. And so the song just kind of goes on and on and on and on. There's a couple stanzas in Spanish that are very, like, obviously, the song is good, the beat is good. Let me just go ahead and say it. The flow is good too. But the lyrics, if you stop and like read them, it's just kind of like, ooh, tell him, like line after line after line after line. There's another one that I liked, which is the credit is only borrowed. It's America's Ghost Writers. And I was just like, ooh, T, sis, T. But I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm telling you, like, I love songs like this. There's also Lupe Fiasco has a song called Freedom Ain't Free. I like that one a lot. I think even Eminem, like with White America, like there's lines in a lot of songs that have resonated with me that I think a lot about whenever there's like, I guess, issues like we're living through right now, in which half of the country's trying to make it seem like, oh, we're the best, we're number one, and then the other half is like, bro, we're literally living through it. Like, I don't know where you're getting this perfect ideal situation from, but that's not how it feels. And I actually earlier today went to see a play put on by the theater department here called The Brothers' Sighs, and in one of the scenes, one of the characters, there's three characters that are in this conversation. One of the characters is saying that he got stopped by a cop, and it's always the same thing, like, where are you going? Why are you walking so fast? Like, get where you need to be, how you need to be. Like, just the different experience that people have with police. And in that experience, you know, it's very true that some people, they get seen and they get targeted, and it's so much bigger than just a song or one isolated issue, because it's like nationwide, right? To the point where it's worldwide. This is about the UK, and it feels the same as it feels here to be othered, to be a minority in any capacity of the word, right? But I don't know, moral of the story is I'm a fan of when movies and songs and poems and books and any form of art, even, you know, actual art, paintings, exhibits, do what they can to convey a message, right? Sometimes it's over the top symbolism and you can be like, all right, buddy, I get it. But in other times, and in all cases, it's really powerful, and it's such a good way to get through what you're going through as you're feeling it, like to express yourself, to convey that emotion, and on the other side to take it in and understand what the artist is trying to tell you. But let's pivot away from this, because speaking of art and film, etc., I also wanted to share songs that I like with y'all, because we always listen to my friends' songs, and I love it. I love hearing what other people listen to, and I've picked up a lot of songs that I like from my friends. This show has a playlist, if y'all weren't aware, on Spotify. It's just called podKast with a K. Obviously, podcast is spelled with K, with a K. But yeah, speaking of movies and music, etc., up next we have a song from a movie. And this song is one of my favorite songs, and this movie is one of my favorites. I'll talk about it after y'all hear it, because now I really want to hear it. But let's segue into That Thing You Do by The Wonders. That was That Thing You Do by The Wonders. So, okay, let me explain that choice, all right? So, I always say that my favorite movie is Back to the Future, because it is. It's a masterpiece. It's a trilogy. The number 3 is pretty cool. Steven Spielberg, of course, a genius. Michael J. Fox, amazing. Christopher Lloyd, amazing. The soundtrack, beautiful. But I always overlook other films that I like. For example, Spirit, Stallion of the Cimarron, animated movie about the horse. The soundtrack is performed by Bryan Adams, and of course Matt Damon, a king, voices the horse. But That Thing You Do, That Thing You Do is a masterpiece from the mind of Tom Hanks, who we stan. But the songs, dude, the songs are so good. We have that movie on VCR at my house, back home, and there was, I think, a week straight because I'd watched it, of course, when I was younger, because my parents were like, hey, let's watch this movie, let's have a movie night, and we were like, I bet. But I was going through VCRs because our VCR had been like working / not working, and my dad had gotten it to work, and so I was going through the VCRs we had because I felt like watching a movie, and I found That Thing You Do one, and I was like, wait, we have this movie? I totally forgot about it. And so I watched it, and it was amazing. And then the next night, I was like, I want to watch this movie again. I want to like go through and analyze it. So I watched it again and sat there and just like thought about it. And then the next night, I was like, I want to go through it again so I can listen to the songs. And so I did. Dude, I'm telling you, I watched this movie for a week straight. And it's so good. It's one of my favorites. And I never think about it when someone asks me, what's your favorite movie? And so tonight when I was planning this show, I was like, I have to mention it at some point. And so that's that. I love that song so much. All of the songs are honestly so good. And they're all like originals. Like they're all written for the movie. So it's about like this kid, I think he works like at an electronics store, and he's in a band with his friends, and so they all just kind of mess around, and they have this one song, right? The Wonders. Originally, The Wonders is spelled like O-N-E, like wonders, like they're one-hit wonders, basically, is the joke. So they get the song on the radio, everyone loves it. Basically, overnight stardom, right? So this group of friends goes through the trial and error and the fame and the glamour, etc. And then, movie goes on. They end up having like a spot where they like act in a movie themselves. It's like kind of meta, but like anyway, it's really cool. It's really a cute little feel good movie, and the ending is I'd say it's a happy ending. Not gonna give you any spoilers, I guess, on the plot twist, even though this came out like a million years ago. Actually, when did this come out? 1996. Yeah, so no spoilers because it's only been like 25 years or something. I don't know how to do math. That's wrong. I know that's wrong. Anyway, but yeah, this movie is such a masterpiece. And I actually grew up listening to a lot of like oldies and stuff because my parents like music a lot, and there's always something playing in my house. And so there's such a musical library. I was telling my boss here, because I was listening to music in the office the other day, and I was listening to the new Bad Bunny album like the day after, a few days after it came out, and he came in and he was like, what's that you're listening to, And I was like, it's like it's Latin music, it's a new album, it's kind of like hip hop, but there's also some like pop, reggaeton, like a little bit of rock like thrown in. It's just a lot. And so, is that what you usually listen to? Like, what type of music do you listen to? And I was like, good question. Like my own personal playlists everyone likes to say they listen to everything, but like, people like different stuff. Like at the top of my, let's actually see what my top Spotify listen to genres are right now. Yes, no, maybe so. Yes. I've recently been listening to, according to my top genres, pop, rock, indie, and hip-hop, which I'd say is pretty accurate, with just an exception for Latin music, I guess. And then I also listen to, like, what my parents listen to. Like, there's so many, like, I have a playlist specifically for the music that I listen to at home with them, because sometimes I'll be missing home. Sometimes I'll be missing the vibe, especially, like today, Sunday mornings. Sunday mornings are always, like, because my dad's home, and my mom's home, because no work on Sundays, and usually anyway, we'll have like family breakfast, or like we'll be cleaning the house, and there's always music playing. And so some days we'll have like Maná or Vicente Fernandez, or we'll have Rod Stewart, we'll have like doo-wop, we'll have ABBA. Like there's always so many genres playing, and so I don't know, that playlist in particular has a special place in my heart, obviously, because it reminds me of home. And I think my taste in music kind of reflects their taste in music, and the fact that it's so varied. Like, we have so many CDs from so many different artists. Like, I don't think I've even listened through all of them once. And so now that the internet is a thing, my dad's actually the one that showed me and my sister YouTube when we were kids, because my dad used to go on it, for music. And I remember one time we were listening to a song and we were arguing like what the lyrics said, and he said, no, let's check. And so we went on YouTube and pulled up a lyric video, and me and my sister were like, what? That's a thing that exists? And I'm telling you, this is like back in the day, like Ethernet cable, like waiting for this to like dial up with all the alien sounding noises, etc. But yeah, this man stays on top of tech and on top of music. And then like we'll be home and my mom will be like just doing her thing, and she'll be like singing along to the radio and like new songs that me and my sister haven't even like gotten the chance to learn yet. And so it's a very musical family. We all come from musical backgrounds, actually. My dad used to sing, my mom used to play guitar. Apparently our family / grandparents / it's like everyone somehow in some way is involved in music. On one side we have like violinists, on the other side we have composers. Me and my sister did piano lessons. For like 10 years we both played percussion and band. We both sing. We both taught ourselves guitar. So music is important. And my sister likes to write originals and stuff. She'll post them and stuff, and I'm like, I'm shy. But like we'll both do covers. We'll both do the whole like Snapchat / Instagram story, little clips of our day-to-day life. But that's a big part of who I am as a person. Growing up like surrounded by music, I think has been a really good thing. And kind of like I talked before, it's like music is international. You can hear songs from everywhere and anywhere in any language, and like they'll resonate with you. I remember one year me and my sister were friends with an international student from Germany, and he was telling us about like some song in German that we had to listen to. We just had to listen to because the lyrics were so powerful. We're like, we're not gonna understand it, dude. He's like, no, I'll tell you what it means. So we did, and like just listening to the song, like you get the hype, like you get the feeling that they're trying to convey. And then he told us what the lyrics meant, and we're like, oh, that makes so much sense. Like we were just vibing. But speaking of vibing, y'all want another song? Of course y'all do. One of my favorite bands at the moment, since they became a band, I guess, is Arizona. Arizona I found through their guitarists, who used to hang out with a YouTuber I used to be obsessed with, the Computer Nerd 01 on YouTube, and one of his friends, his name is Nathan, was the guitarist for this band. So like they did covers and stuff, and originals. I think what like really helped them take off was they did a cover of Bad Blood by Taylor Swift, like in their style, and it blew up. I think it was on, it got big on YouTube too, but I think it was on Reddit that somebody found them and asked them like, yo, let me be your manager, let me help y'all get there. And so at this point I followed, of course, like the guys in the band. They also used to like live stream on YouNow and stuff, and they had different endeavors. Like they had a studio out of their car. They did a lot basically. And so I remember one day I was just, and like we were like this is back when they would all like still interact like with everyone and anyone like on Twitter and stuff. Like we were mutuals. Like we would have conversations about things that weren't YouTube / music related, just like like genuine like internet socialization. But I remember on Instagram one day seeing that they got signed to Atlantic, and I'm like, this is for real. Like they're gonna get big. And they did. Like they opened for Panic at the Disco's tour. They've headlined their own thing. They've played Coachella. Like they're doing fantastic. They released an album called Asylum last year. Before that it was Gallery in 2016, I want to say. I hope I'm not telling you wrong, but the songs are so good. So here is one of my favorites by them. This is What She Wants by Arizona. That was What She Wants by Arizona, who I absolutely stan, absolutely love. They're all super cool. They've been one of the there have been some of the artists that I've listened to the most and kept up with from the beginning. I don't think I'd done that with an artist since since Justin Bieber, who again, my dad like showed to me on YouTube. He was like, hey, look, this kid's popular, you like music, listen to this. And he showed me like one time, like a week before the studio version track got released or something. But I mean, Bieber's the reason I'm on Twitter, because he used to be like, follow me on Twitter, keep up with, you know, what I'm up to. And so I was like, okay, bet. And so I made a Twitter that was low-key a fan account for him. But anyway, that is so besides the point. Speaking of Twitter, follow the show, podKast by K, which is spelled and stylized as PODKASTXK. That's on Twitter. Keep up with any updates on the show, find the links to the playlists, to the songs, to any other, I guess, creative endeavors that go along with the show. But yeah, Arizona, I hadn't kept up with an artist like that since. And now, you know, they're all busy like writing and stuff, so they spend a little less time just hanging out on the internet. But one of them, the lead singer, Zach, will live stream on Twitch, just playing games. That's actually how I found my way back to Twitch, if I'm honest. Because before, I think PewDiePie had tried to stream back in the day when I still was like into gaming, YouTube type stuff. But yeah, no, Arizona is how I got back into Twitch. And he'd play like PUBG mostly. But it was just kind of cool to get to hang out in that chat, especially whenever anything big happened with the band, because they'd be like, hey, here's a quick little update for like the few of you guys that are hanging out in here. And honestly, like, I used to be like way more on social media and stuff. Like, I had internet friends and stuff, but I kind of left that life behind. But no, I drifted away from that just because real life kind of took over. But with Arizona, it's cool because there's people that hang out in that chat, and there's a Discord, which is kind of like a group chat for that. And it's cool to like have gotten to interact with like, you know, the same group of people for like however long it was that they continually like live stream, because you do get to make internet friends. And it's cool because to this day, like, there's a few that I still talk to on like various platforms, just to keep up with, you know, what each other's doing. Even outside of things related to the band, which has brought us together. And then I've seen, of course, that others of them actually like met up at different concerts, different venues, which is super cool. I've missed my chance to see Arizona countless times. They've played in my state, in my area, like literally half an hour away from where I live, like 3 times or something. And each time something came up and I couldn't go to the show. And now they're like getting bigger and better, and their shows are getting more expensive and further away, closer to like the bigger cities. But, you know, it's fine. It's fine. But yeah, no, YouTube was a huge part of my, I guess you can call them formative years, even though those are probably still right now, still growing, changing, evolving, adapting, etc. But YouTube is actually how I found my way to having a podcast in general. I think the first podcast I started listening to was Jenna and Julian, which is Jenna Marbles and her boyfriend. They started a podcast just to hang out because they used to live stream and just kind of like have combos and hang with people in the chat. And it was just like a smaller community because Jenna Marbles is one of the most subscribed on YouTube, right? So there's obviously a lot of viewers, a lot of people commenting, but the live streams were smaller. And so then when they started their podcast, and they also actually stream on Twitch, is, you know, another way I kept into that scene. They started their podcast, and it was literally just kind of like this show, just random conversations on random topics between them, because they were like, well, we always talk about things that are cool and interesting, what if we share that with the world? And they do that, you know. And they'll have their friends on as guests, or they'll bring on like random people. Like, I know they had at some point the host of HQ Trivia, who they were fans of, so it was cool to get to see them do. But now, of course, it's like a thing. Podcasts are a thing. And so that's one of the ones I listen to. There's A Conversation With by Philip DeFranco, who also used to actually, well, he still does, but that's also another podcast I used to listen to. He is known for doing like news on YouTube. So he'll go like summaries of like that day's trending topics and like world news. Links are always in the bio, so you can like read through them and like, you know, have your own opinion on something based on different sources. But he'd post them in podcast form, which is great because like, especially if usually when I listen to podcasts, it's when I'm like painting or doing something where I need like a reference image, or where I'm like, when I'm doing something where I don't need to be sit down tied in front of a screen. And so I do that with the news, right? Either like the previous day's 20 minutes or so, or like at the end of the week, and I would just listen to everything that went on that week back to back. So Jenna Julian, Philip DeFranco's show, A Conversation With, in which he just has a conversation with guests. He's had the guy from Hot Ones on there, which I thought was pretty cool to see the interviewer get interviewed himself. Ryan Higa, who is my absolute idol, his channel on YouTube is Niga Higa, and he was one of the, also like back in like, so the Computer Nerd 01, Jenna Marbles, and Ryan Higa are some of the people whose channels I watched the most. And I would honestly attribute my goals and aspirations in film and, you know, thinking like that's something that's attainable to him and his content, because he did like skits and like parody music videos and fake trailers and like all this other stuff, and it started off just like him and his friends in high school, and it just evolved even as he, like, I think he went to film school in Vegas. I'm not sure if he actually graduated, but like through it all, like you saw like him progress as a filmmaker and as a content creator, and like the quality of his content just got better, and he's so clever. And so obviously watching this, like, hey, if this kid can do this on YouTube and like get big for it and like known and like etc. How many times have I said etc.? Somebody please tell me they're keeping a tally. But like if him, why not me, right? Why not any of us that want to create in video format? But yeah, his podcast is called Off the Pill. He actually had Yang on there, one of the former candidates for the Democratic nomination. There's also there's another podcast by one of the guys off of Queer Eye, Jonathan Van Ness, and that podcast, he has guests on that like will teach about random topics. Getting Curious. So there will be like, he's had artists like singers like Bishop Briggs, but he's also had like historians and like scientists, like just talking about different things that are relevant. But yeah, those are the types of podcasts I usually listen to, right? Conversations that you can gain something, like gain some knowledge from. But there's also one podcast called, I only listened to one story podcast, which was called Blackout, starring Rami Malek, and that was a really cool story. It was only like 10 episodes or something, but it was really interesting. And that was just like fiction. It was kind of like the old radio shows where instead of watching a show on TV, you would just listen to someone tell you a story on the radio. But yeah, no, there's that. And there's also another podcast called Unrelatable, which was, it's currently not been any new episodes posted, but it was just like combo between these three guys who met like across YouTube and Twitter, and like they became friends through like other mutual friends who actually knew them in real life. So like I said, I like to listen to conversations that you can learn from. But yeah, all of these internet things have been massive. I say it a lot. I live on the internet, but it's true. And actually, like through Arizona and Twitch, I found my way to J.Cyrus, who used to be a Viner when Vine was a thing. Rip Vine, 2K16. Tragic. But yeah, so he just did like gaming and stuff, and I liked hanging out in the chat. He played like mostly Fortnite, which I don't particularly enjoy as much. He also used to play PUBG, but whenever I started watching was because J.Cyrus played with Zach, the singer for Arizona, and then around those days he was getting ready to release a new song, and he played a clip from it, and I was like, oh, this is cool. I'll hang around to hear the new song, and it was really good. And the lyrics really resonated with like how my life was looking at the moment. But ever since he's released more tracks, he's been super cool to like sit and like watch, just play video games, hang out with like that chat community. But yeah, I love whenever people are talented in multiple aspects, because I know we all have our like variety of hobbies and interests, but it's really cool to see people pursue them, especially when they're known for one thing and they don't shy away from still trying their hand at others. So on that topic, let's listen to a song by J.Cyrus. His name is J.Cyrus, but he goes by J.Cyrus. So yeah, here is Quick Fix. I love whenever people do multiple things. There's a lot of jokes about like whenever like actors want to be musicians and vice versa, but like why stop somebody, you know? Let everyone become a one-man band, you know, a one-man show, one-woman show, one-person show, whatever. Enjoy your talents. Be willing to learn new ones. But yeah, I can't believe like out of literally just how interconnected everything is, from a YouTuber to another YouTuber to a band to another stream, which ends up being to another musician. And, you know, everything's connected somehow. I love that you can find so many things through just word of mouth and through things that people do and with their friends and on their own, and that sense of connection and hyping people up and community is super cool to see, especially online, because I mean, if you don't interact with somebody, if you don't have anything to gain directly, and for you to still be so like selfless to shout each other out and like see each other grow, like that's the type of vibe that you should surround yourself with. Like, why be jealous of your friends' accomplishments? Like, why break that down? Like, nah, hype each other up, right? Like, help each other succeed and succeed together too. That's like, I don't know if that's a hot take in this industry, because, you know, everyone's like, it's like in that scene in World War Z where they're just like climbing over each other to try to get to the top of the wall. But it doesn't have to be like that, right? Like, it's only lonely at the top if you're making that journey by yourself, or whatever that quote on the internet says. As our time here draws to a close, because I just looked at the clock and saw that we have 5 minutes left. I want y'all to listen to my favorite song in general. So I guess we'll end with that. That'll be my closing remark, final statement, etc. So up next, and last but definitely not least, we have some Bastille. Bastille has been one of my favorites as well, as a band in general. I started listening to them in high school because one of my friends had one of their albums. Like, she bought the album shortly after Pompeii came out, which of course everyone listened to and everyone loved because it was such a bop. But yeah, she gave me one of their albums to like listen to, and then she was like, here, just copy it onto your computer. And so I did, and I'd actually stopped listening to them for a while, even after their second album. And then I don't remember how I found my way back to them. I think I was just going through my old music and I found the flash drive where all of those tracks were, and I'm like, dang, I really totally forgot that I used to love Bastille. And so I listened to all of it, fell back in love with them, memorized all the lyrics to all the songs, and by the time that they were ready to release their new album, I was obsessed. I actually came back here in the fall to find out that one of my coworkers had actually been in, like, over the summer, like, still, like, going through music to add to the automation for the station, and he'd set aside into our, like, into a pile of rejected albums and tracks the new Bastille album. And I was like, dude, I've been obsessing over this the entire summer just to come back and find it cast aside. Worthless. But nah, not at all. It's such a good album. I loved it. The singles from it are really good. The title track is really good. I actually went to see them in concert with my roommate and one of our friends, and it was amazing. Now my roommate is also obsessed with Bastille and that album. So the song I'm going to play is actually not from the new one. It's from one of their older ones. I don't remember if it's in their first or second album, but it doesn't really matter because it's that good. So without further ado, before I keep rambling on about things that don't really mean anything, because I'm just talking to myself in the studio tonight, here is my favorite song ever, Glory by Bastille. That was Glory by Bastille. the sight of the lights turning off in the hallway tells me that it is after midnight, which means that our time here has drawn to a close. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of me talking to myself, but also talking to y'all, going a little bit more into who I am as a person, what I vibe with. We'll be back with new nonsense, a new guest at the same time on the same station. Next week, I've already said who the guest is, haven't I? So yeah, my sister will be back. We will be here at 11 p.m., even though we're on break. So tune in from home, tune in from here. You've been listening to WECS 90.1 FM. This is podKast with a K, and I'm Carla with a K, signing off. Have a fantastic week.